Good afternoon, everybody. I'll call this recommending committee meeting of July 31st to order. Are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
Yes, we are.
This meeting has been posted in various locations throughout the city. And let's read this first item. Really, it's not the first item, the first agenda item. Bill number 2007-34 establishes the means of allowing the use, quote, delivery and service vehicle storage, quote, in certain commercial and industrial zoning districts, sponsored by Councilman, Ricky Barlow. Do you have staff that wants to?
I can present this. Mr. Fagg is here from planning if there are any questions. This is a use that didn't fit neatly within any of the existing categories. It's basically a facility for parking and storage of commercial fleet vehicles that are used for delivery of goods and services in the community. This bill will allow that use as a permitted use in industrial and commercial industrial zones and as a special use permit in the C2 and CPB districts with certain minimum special use requirements, special use permit requirements. I believe that's all I had to make a presentation on.
Did we have any comments from the public? Anything that wishes to be added? I noted that in the information and backup that you talk about effective screening so as not to be visible from adjoining properties, the lighting shielded, not interfering with parking, and no repairing and servicing of vehicles, and no storage or warehousing of goods or merchandise, which often are complaints that we receive, so this is covered so that would not be misused. Am I correct in that?
Correct.
Did you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say that you're correct.
Oh, good. Okay. Do you wish to make a motion, Mr. Councilman Barlow?
Yes, my motion would be that we forward this ordinance to the city council for
With a yes recommendation.
with a yes recommendation.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Moving on to the next item, Bill number 2007-35 allows additional types of alcoholic beverage-related uses in the CV Civic Zoning District by means of special use permits sponsored by Councilwoman Lois Tarkanian. Did we have anybody from staff that wanted to cover?
Yes, Councilwoman. We have kind of an anomaly in the zoning code. The CV district allows taverns, but doesn't allow any other alcohol-related uses, even those that are less, that have lesser impact on the neighborhood. So this bill will allow, by means of special use permit, restaurant, service bar, supper club, banquet facility, on-sale beer, wine, cooler establishment, and social event with alcoholic beverage sales in the CV district. And that's my presentation.
Are there any comments from the audience, from the public?
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Ted Russell. I'm a resident of Las Vegas. I'm familiar with this ordinance. I understand its pragmatics, its utility, and its function. And based on the reference also of Councilwoman Tarkanian, I recommend approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
I have a comment, or more or less a question. Does this ordinance allow for the special use of beer and wine sales on city, for example, in city facilities such as our community centers for special use events? If someone were to rent out one of our gymnasiums or multi-purpose rooms to bring in beer and wine for a reception or a wedding party or birthday party, something of that nature?
If the facilities that you speak of have a CV zoning, not all the city facilities do, but most of them. And for any that did have a CV zoning, that would be a potential, although the city would have to be obviously involved in the application or it wouldn't go anywhere.
And Ricky, I wanted to point out something here because the wording sounds as if we're making a higher use of alcohol possible in the CV Civic, when in reality, this is being presented to make a less amount of alcohol, make it more restrictive on alcohol. If you turn to first page of the bill and you look at E, you can have a tavern right now in a civic zone. And that was the only way the Springs Preserve could go, since their civic zoning, is to get a tavern. We did not want them to have a full tavern there, and they didn't want one either. The only thing we could do would be present something, and that's where F, G, and the rest that are underlined are the restaurant, service bar, the supper club, a banquet facility, on sale beer, wine, social event with alcoholic beverage sales. And I wish there were a way we could word this so it gets the intent out, because my concern is that I'm going to have, as this is presented more, that we're going to have a lot of people thinking we're opening the doors more to alcohol, when in reality what we're doing is closing the doors more to alcohol by giving a possibility other than tavern.
Well, I'm not necessarily clear on that, because the way I've read it is that we've opened the door more so because, for example, religious faith-based facilities are supposed to sit on CV zoning. Our parks, child care facilities, all those are CV zones, which opens the door for receptions and things of that nature to now come in to CV zoning and have the potential of selling beer and wine. Is that correct or incorrect?
It opens the door for someone to apply. But the city council is the one who closes the door before anyone comes in. So if you don't like a particular use that's being applied for, simply turn it down. All it does is allow someone to ask for a special use permit.
Right, but currently today they cannot, right?
A tavern operator could. The irony of that is these others that are much less restrictive couldn't. So it doesn't really close the door, but it lets other people through the door that couldn't get through otherwise.
But although the mayor and council, or the council I should say, is still the gatekeeper to say yes or no, but we still open the door wider for the application to be made, is my point.
Yes.
So right now, if I were a church group, I could maybe establish a tavern on my CV.
If you have a CV zone, yes, you'd have the right to ask for a tavern.
So your groups, the church-related, the faith-based groups, they could ask for a tavern right now. And it would be, and all I'm trying to do is let them be also able to ask for a supper club.
Yeah, the idea was
So, I mean,
that,
they already can do that, I
right,
think.
the idea was that the tavern might get turned down, but some of these others that are of lesser impact might not get turned down. And I think that was the idea for the Springs Preserve, is no one really wanted the tavern use there because it's so expansive. But this was a way to let the lesser uses come in.
Yeah, if you know what, it might be good. I didn't really realize there were so many that would fall in that same zoning. I thought they
Well, I don't know that
small.
we have a lot of CV zoning out there other than
I was
government.
told there wasn't very much, so this
Yeah,
is
there may be civic groups that have civic zoning, but not too many of them. It's typically a government use rather than a church use.
But as we, and I'm just speaking on all the work that I've done as Ward 5 is concerned, is that as we work with the church communities and the child care facilities, because a lot of the churches sit on R1 parcels, so in order for them to either get refinancing, they have to get their proper zoning, which we have basically have been informing them that the use for their church facility is CV.
Yeah, that I'm not familiar with. Flynn, do you have any idea what kinds of parcels we have out there that are already CV with churches or that are recommended for CV for churches?
The councilman is correct in that churches are permitted in CV zoning districts, as they are considered to be some of our civic and public uses. So that is the case. However, we do need to remember that there are still separation distance that apply to taverns Those same separation distances do not apply to restaurant service bars or supper clubs or the banquet facilities. So there are additional restrictions on taverns in those locations. And again, it still has to go through the special use permit process.
Maybe what we should do, this seems a little murky with new information coming forth. Maybe what we should do is abate this and have the people who have been working on this look into this further. How much CV do we have, or what's the way to control this? My intention was never to make it so we could have more liquor, quite honestly, in the civic zoning. All I wanted to do was allow the Springs Preserve, which has a small restaurant up there, have a restaurant supper club rather than have to have
A tavern.
a tavern.
Which makes,
And the only way they could do it was to have a tavern.
which makes sense. However, the flip side of that coin is, as far as opening the door for example, for someone to come in and purchase a church and flip the use from a church to a tavern, pretty much opens up.
But they can do that now. They have the right to have a tavern, right?
That's correct.
It says they already have the right to have a tavern, and that's what I was trying to avoid. See,
Yeah.
my concern was if we gave this to the Springs Preserve, we could feel safe with the group that's there now. I didn't know what would happen in the future. Who knows what might happen? Somebody would have that tavern ability, and they might want to build a tavern there in the future, and they would have that through the CV zoning. So right now, they can have a tavern. There's no question they can have a tavern at the Springs Preserve. And at your churches, they can have a tavern.
And again, with the tavern, with the separation distance requirements, churches are a protected use, as are parks and schools, etc. There's not any way to have a church and a tavern on the same property.
Oh, that's
Now-
what you're saying.
now
That's the stop.
Yeah, now they could, you're correct that they could convert the property from a church to a tavern, but still they would have to meet separation distance requirements. And there are certain areas in Ward 5, which I understand is an area of concern, where because of the number of churches, they are not going to be able to meet separation distance requirements.
Correct, but those that will meet, what is it, 1,500 feet?
Yes, that's
1,500
correct.
feet. There are some that do meet that 1,500-foot requirement that can pose a problem. But as long as the gatekeepers, the council, as far as the use of the special use, and we basically deal with that on a case by case, which makes me more comfortable in my position to move this item forward, Councilwoman. But I wanted to bring that out on the record to make everyone aware of the parameter and the far-reaching effect than just this particular.
Well, and I
mindset.
understand that, and I'm seeing that maybe, to me, the recommending committee is an additional time for the public to speak, for the questions to sort of be discussed openly in the public meeting, and so if problems arise, we can look into it further before we send it to the council, where you don't have as much time of interaction between each other. We interact some, but we're really restricted.
I know we are on a deadline in terms of the direction from council relative to the adoption of this ordinance.
Who's pushing the ordinance?
I believe there was a 120-day deadline, am I correct,
Springs
Mr. Steed?
Preserve meets the ordinance. Either that or we let them have a tavern. I mean, the tavern they can have.
If, we would be happy to research the issue of the CV zoning for you. We could certainly have that turned around in 2 weeks. We couldn't have that turned around by tomorrow.
Oh, no.
So,
Goes on for tomorrow.
as long as we can still meet the deadline that was the direction of council with relative to this ordinance, we'd be happy to do
Well,
that research.
Councilwoman, I can't say this. I am comfortable with moving forward with the item. I just wanted to just make record that, to make everyone aware that this is more far-reaching than some have realized. And so, as long as I sit on the council, I will continue to advocate for the protection.
And I think you're right, and my feeling is that I know why this was introduced. I know the problem the Springs Preserve has. I think that these other aspects of it, though, were not brought forward, and I just feel that we should set it off for 2 weeks until we get more information. That would make me feel more comfortable.
Okay.
We would be happy to provide additional
So
information to
I'd move
council.
to obey it till the next recommending committee. All in favor?
Aye.
I need that motion. Aye.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just point out that it has been published, so it will need to be adopted on the 15th or not at all. We published it because of the time sensitivity of it. And perhaps the answer is to come up with a new category for government that's different than the one that we've been using now, because apparently if government and church can't have the same category, maybe that's the answer.
Well, that was something I was asking about. I would rather do it that way, have a different category, so that we could handle that type of problem without opening up. Because once something's opened up, you don't know who's going to try and push through something that would be detrimental to the public.
But we can certainly do that after this is adopted. There's no reason that this can't go forward and take care of the immediate concern, and then we can have plenty to a study about.
You're saying we would have to adopt it.
You can still hold it like you did. You can hold it in advance like you've done. You'll hear it again on the 14th, but then it will have to be adopted on the 15th, or it will die. Although that's not true, because let me speak for myself again. We have the new charter provision that now gives us 60 days, so I don't think we're under that deadline anymore.
Well, could you at the same time then be looking into another way to do this, where we
Sure.
wouldn't be opening up all these other side doors?
Sure, I don't.
Maybe we could do that in lieu of this. Maybe that would be the better way to go.
Yeah, I don't. Knowing how this works, I don't think this is a problem, but I understand that it may look like a problem, and so if you're concerned about that,
Or
we can
maybe
look at other
it's
ways.
just a matter of just educating me more on why in fact you don't see it as a problem. Because currently today, a parcel zone CV cannot apply for
Something close.
Right.
a supper club, correct?
Correct. But can for a tavern, which is
But
what
can-
doesn't make sense.
Right, but can for a tavern.
Yeah.
Which you can't have if it's a church, because then it's not
Right.
1,500 feet.
See?
Yeah.
So
I would feel more comfortable, yes.
I just wanted to ask a question. And please correct me if I'm wrong, I thought this was very much similar or parallel to what we did at the World Market Center. Am I
It is
completely
similar.
left field? So in that case, since that was a good model, wouldn't it also follow that this is a good model?
the zoning.
I think the model is good. The only problem is you don't have many places, you don't have any other place like the World Market Center now, whereas you do have a lot of other places
Okay.
civic, and that's why this is a little more murky. But you're absolutely right, it follows that same type of thing, and that's what we were thinking of.
And the World Market doesn't sit on CV zoning.
No, but it's that, it was something that we had to change in order for it to do what it did, yeah. It wasn't on CV, it
It
was a
is
different, but,
distinctly unique.
yeah, it was
Madam
distinct.
Chair, Mark Vincent, Finance and Business Services. It's similar, but they are different. The way World Market was handled, it was a specific license category, whereas here you're talking about a land use zoning. So
That's right.
they're really, that's why this one has a broader impact.
Yeah, they're similar, but. So, did we vote on that?
Yes, we did.
All right, then let's move to the next item. Bill number 2007-36 adopts development standards and guidelines for hillside areas, sponsored by Councilman Larry Brown.
This is a bill that follows up with the example of some of the other local jurisdictions that applies to what are called hillside areas, that is areas with a grade of a slope of 15% or greater. Because of the slope of the land, of course, land cannot be developed to the same intensity, and great care needs to be taken in developing so that the resources are maintained. So this goes through and explains the process and the standards that apply to hillside areas. It went through Planning Commission. A great deal of interaction was had with the home builders to make sure that they were on board with it. After it went through the Planning Commission, it was decided to add an additional section at the end of the bill that has to do with the fire code. And that requires, for any development that's within this sloped area, that the homes have automatic sprinklers because of course, the hillside development makes access by fire equipment, apparatus, and personnel more difficult and puts the homes at greater risk. So that aspect of the ordinance was, comment was solicited specifically from the home builders regarding that under the state law business impact statement provisions. They did not respond, and we assume that they are okay with that provision. We recommend approval.
And this is, we've been talking about this for some time, as I recall, because the homes are going more and more up the mountainsides, and this is to protect our mountains, is that right? Would you like to make a few comments on that?
Certainly, Councilwoman Flynn-Fagg with the Planning and Development Department. You're exactly correct in that this is intended to protect our hillsides. Currently, we do not have many slopes over 15% in the city of Las Vegas. However, we're trying to be forward-looking. There are areas that are set for annexation here in the next several years where this ordinance will apply. And again, we have modeled it after other ordinances here in the valley, and the intent is to protect the hillsides and the views.
Do we have any comments from the audience?
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Ted Russell. I'm a resident of Las Vegas. To understand that the expansion is rather inevitable as we go upward, and the mention about the gradient involved, the statistics for everywhere from underwriters to Las Vegas Fire and Rescue will affirm the distinct, unique, and potent value of sprinklers, and I am in favor of approving. Thank you.
I sort of thought that you'd be in approval of that, considering the mountainsides. But the only question I have is, it says that where possible, develop and be designed. But I suppose that means we have a choice to determine, but what does that mean, where possible? It sounds like it's, I'm just afraid somebody with a lot of money that wants to develop a hillside might get it, and a lot of people in the valley are concerned with that.
One of the difficult things with hillside development is it's a lot, how do I want to say, it's not as standardized, if you will, as some of the other development parcels. And so that's why you have language as such in the ordinance that we really need to look at the individual applications as they come in on a case-by-case basis. So instead of having absolute standards, we are having the developers show us how they comply with the standards that we've set forth in the proposed ordinance.
Councilwoman, let me also point out that that language that you're referring to is actually just quoting the master plan.
Just the master.
And so there's no particular change to the master plan proposed by this ordinance. It's just reciting that as the basis for it.
But giving us more ability to control the growth on the hillsides. Because I know talking with Margot, that was a concern she had too.
Exactly.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I would move that we move this item to the full council with a yes vote. Yes recommendation.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving to item number 7, bill number 2007-38, authorizes the issue. Am I at 6? Go back too fast. Okay. Bill number 2007-37 authorizes the issuance of the City of Las Vegas, Nevada Special Improvement District number 808, the Summerlin area, villages 20 and 23A, Senior Local Improvement Refunding Bonds 2007 Series A, and Subordinate Local Improvement Refunding Bonds 2007 Series B, proposed by Mark Vincent, Director of Finance and Business Services.
Madam Chairman, Mark Vincent, Director of Finance and Business Services. This item is in order, but it might be interesting to explain a little bit about it. We are refunding some SID bonds, and that's going to do a couple things for us. One is, I should say, for the property owners. One thing it's going to do is afford them a lower interest rate, which they are responsible for paying So we're taking advantage of lower rates. The other thing it does is as Summerlin gets developed, they have what we call overlapping SIDs because they might do regional road structures around their development, and then as the individual villages get developed, they have their own SIDs and they overlap in each other. The current SID structure is such that these aren't on the same cycle. So you have property owners that have two different cycles for two different SIDs. This is going to allow us to get them on the same cycle. It'll make the administration and the payment process a lot easier for them. So that's what we're doing with that bill.
Any questions, any comments from the audience, from the public? You want to make a motion?
Yes, I move for a yes vote that we move this to the full city council.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we come to bill number 2007-38, which authorizes the issuance of the City of Las Vegas, Nevada Special Improvement District number 808 and 810, Summerlin Village 23B, Local Improvement and Refunding Bonds Series 2007, proposed by Mark Vincent, Director of Finance and Business Services Department.
Madam Chairman, Mark Vincent again. This is just the latest village in the Summerlin 808 district. If you can, I'll point it out in the map here. This is the 808 area. These are individual villages. This is the latest village. So this would be the most farthest northwest village. So this would be the latest SID for Summerlin.
They're still going strong, aren't they? Do we have any comments from the public? Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Yes, I move that we move this item forward to the full body of the council with a yes recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? All right. The next item is bill number 2007-39, Redox LVMC 10.02.010 to make state misdemeanors, city misdemeanors, if committed within the city, proposed by Brad Jervik, City Attorney.
Yes, Council. This is a little exercise that we go through every 2 years where the legislature creates new crimes. We have the ability by state law to make misdemeanors, city misdemeanors, anything that's also a state misdemeanor. And so when they create new laws, in order to avoid defense attorneys who might say this law isn't picked up because it's new by your city code, we do this each 2 years to make certain that any new state law misdemeanors are also city misdemeanors. So we recommend approval.
Any comments from the public? A motion?
I move that we move this item forward to the full body of the city council with a yes recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item is citizen participation. If we have any.
None.
I'm sorry, my pages stick together. I'm in too much of a rush with all happening tomorrow. All righty. Bill number 2007-40, annexation number ANX 20441, property location on the southeast corner of Michael Way and Madre Mesa Drive, petitioned by American Wheelchair Veterans et al., acreage 12.13 acres, zone RE county zoning, U, R, and RD city equivalents, sponsored by Councilman Ricky Barlow. No wonder you didn't want me to go past that one.
Councilwoman, this is a routine owner requested annexation. Everything's in order. Recommend approval.
Any questions from the public on this?
I don't have any questions.
Did you
I
want
did have something to say
on this or in the general?
on the annexation.
Okay. Certainly.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, Councilman Barlow. I wanted to take this opportunity to welcome Councilman Barlow. I realize you've been here for some time, but I haven't. And even though you are sponsoring this, I move for approval.
Thank you. Did you say your name for the record?
My name is Ted Russell. I'm a resident of Las Vegas. And also I wanted to mention that it's one of the few opportunities I'll probably have getting to know you better, and I'm looking forward to that.
So am I. Thank you so much.
A motion?
Yes, I move that we move this item, this ordinance forward to the body of the city council with a yes recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we have the general public comment time. Is there anybody here who wants to make a comment?
Oh, no, I haven't even.
Good lady.
Go on ahead.
Then all of the, there are no comments from the public, then I